Hello learners, I am Aparna Sharma, home scientist, and today we will discuss about the concept of development. Development, as you all know, is a continuous process. It keeps happening throughout the life. As the child grows and becomes an adult, you will find that continuous changes are happening. A child is born and becomes a toddler and then becomes an adolescent and grows up into an adult. When a baby is born, you will find mostly the baby is in the lying position, moves on to his stomach, comes to the sitting position, starts crawling and starts running and walking. You find that the changes are happening continuously from 1 year to 2, 3, 4 and 5 years. As the children grow and develop, changes are happening. So today we will understand what is growth and development, what is the role of heredity, environment and learning. We will explain the principles of development, understand the types of development and monitor growth and development in the different age groups. Growth, as you can see, is the change in size, shape and proportion. When we say proportion, it also means body proportion. This is a feature that can be measured. That is, we can measure height, weight and the changes in body proportion. We can measure height in inches, in centimeters. We can measure weight in kgs. So we can say that growth refers to the quantitative changes that are taking place in the child as he or she grows. Growth is influenced by environment, age, health conditions and gender. When we say environment, when a child is growing, he needs to be given conducive environment. If we want the child to start running, we will have to give him opportunity and environment where he gets a chance to run. When we say the age, correct age should be achieved before we expect the child to start running. And similarly, the child should be in good health condition. If the child is not in good health condition, bones will not be formed, muscles will not be developed, so he will not be able to run comfortably. And gender, of course, plays a very important role in growth because girls and boys have a different pace of growing. The next important feature is development. Development, as I had said earlier also, it is an ongoing process. It keeps happening throughout the life and it deals with the ability to attain skills so that one achieves social development, emotional development, language development, cognitive development and physical development. All these various developments that you see over here, they follow certain principles, and these principles, again like growth, they are affected by heredity, environment and learning. And because of these three factors, you see what is called individual differences. There may be two children who may have the same hereditary features, who may have similar environmental conditions and they may get similar learning opportunity, yet there are going to be differences because it depends upon the ability of the child to absorb any of these features. So we can say that development is the process of change required for advancement in the ability to perform any task. How we are going to perform the task will depend upon how we are able to advance and develop that ability. It can take place only if there is conducive environment. If I expect a child to start running, then I have to give him environment which is suitable. The conditions where I make the child run should be such that the child is able to put his foot forward, balance himself, stand on that and then take the next step ahead. So the environment has to be conducive. And most important, development is always influenced by psychological factors and biological factors. Because of these reasons, adequate development takes place. Now, growth and development, very often we use these terms interchangeably, that is growth and development. We may at times use it wrongly as well, but they are very closely interrelated and growth and development cannot happen in isolation. They always go together. But still there are differences and we need to understand those differences. What are those? Growth is always quantitative in nature. As I had said earlier, growth means increase in height, weight and body proportion. So we can measure that. That measurement will be in terms of inches or centimeter. So we are measuring. But when we say development, development is always qualitative in nature. We can say that there are two children, maybe Mohan and Sohan, and both are made to run. but the way Mohan runs is different from that of Sohan. So that means there is difference in the qualitative nature of the child. The running of the two boys is different because development has been different. Growth refers not only to the physical aspects, whereas development refers to physical, cognitive, language, emotional and social areas. Again, I take the example of running. I am sticking to the same example so that you are able to understand the situation better. When I say physical development, if the bones are not properly developed, if the muscles are not developed, then the child will not be able to run. Cognitive development is required for running. Why? The child must know, the child must reason out, and the child must anticipate how much strength is required to put my step forward and how far I must put my step forward. So cognitive development is required. Language development is required because if I am giving instruction, Mohan, you have to run. If the child does not understand that language, then he will not be able to run properly. Emotional and social development is equally important. Growth again is limited only to height and weight. Only two aspects you understand by growth, that is height and weight. But when we say development, it leads to maturity. For example, a child starts. Let us again go by the example of running. I make a child stand. One child will maybe run at a slower speed. Another child of the same age may start running faster. But as the child will grow, the one who was running in a slower speed will continue to run faster. So it is because of maturity and increase in the strength of the muscles and the bones. Growth is something which stops after a certain period of life. We all know we grow in height till we are in the adolescent period. After that, we stop growing. Of course, our weight keeps increasing. That is in our hands. But development is something that continues till death. We cannot stop development. Now, we have to understand that there are various factors that affect growth and development, and most important in that is maturation and learning. Both are very important and they both coexist. That means they go together. A child has to be mature in order to learn, and similarly, if learning is happening, then maturity has to be there for adequate learning process. So they are interdependent and they cannot exist in isolation. When we say maturation, it is growing to full potential. That means the child must grow up to his maximum ability, must mature to his maximum ability. When we say learning, acquiring new skills due to environmental stimulation and training. There may be a child, say in a particular environment, in a particular setup, where he has matured. The child has become 12 years old. That means his body has entered into early adolescence and has developed totally for that age group. But he has not received the environment where he can show his academic skills or some kind of musical skills or dance skills, because he has not acquired those skills. He has not been given the opportunity to learn. But if a child at 12 years in B situation is not dancing, that doesn't mean he cannot dance. He can dance, but he has not been given the opportunity to learn. Body has matured to full potential, but learning has not happened. Maturation happens or occurs at an appropriate time, and we must know that the child first should come into sitting posture, then only the child will start crawling. If the child is not able to sit, it is wrong on our part to expect the child to crawl. And similarly, learning opportunity has to be provided. That is, it will happen at the correct time with training and practice. Only when repetition and practice will happen will the child be able to crawl. Internal organs mature with time and nourishment. Shift is in ability to ability. When we say maturation, then the child who was unable to do becomes able to do a particular skill or activity. But with learning, ability turns to perfection. Next important feature is heredity. When we say heredity, the person is born with traits that he or she adopts from his parents. It is very important for us to understand that when a child is born, very often we see that hair color is same, eye color is same, skin color is same and resembling that of the parents, because the child has adopted some traits from the parents. Heredity is also the basis for development of human personality. Heredity also leads to the development of characteristics or traits which are similar to parents and grandparents. When we say trait, it indicates habits, and due to specific combination of genes, the hereditary features become visible. Next is the environment. It is very important. We may have maturation. We may have adopted adequate hereditary traits from our parents. But if environment is not conducive, then we will not be able to project our good learning. So environment includes all the aspects of the surrounding: opportunity to learn, opportunity to practice, opportunity to display or reflect. Environment also indicates capabilities and potential determined by heredity that are governed by environment, and it influences the development of an individual. Now we need to understand the principles of development. The first important principle is that it occurs at different time for different parts of body. When a child is born, everybody will insist that you put a hand supporting the head. Why? Because the head of the baby is biggest in size as compared to the rest of the body, and it becomes important for us to support that. But eventually, now at our age, when we are full grown adults, head becomes smaller as compared to the rest of the body. But each of the body parts, so we can understand development happens, but at different time for each of the different parts of the body. It is correlated. All the processes, all the different parts of the body as they are developing, all of them are correlated. It proceeds from general to specific. Today, if I ask a very small baby to pick up this stick, the tendency for the baby will be to hold with the full hand grasp. But when as an adult, when I am picking, I may also hold it with only 4 fingers and support of my thumb. I don't need to hold the stick with my complete hand. So I am proceeding from general to specific. It is continuous. Development is happening. One of the principle proceeds from general to specific. When I say general, if I give this stick to a small baby to hold, then the baby may hold it like this with a complete grasp. That is the support of the palm, the fingers and the thumb. But if I give it to a bigger child, or maybe if I am holding, I may even hold it with 2 fingers and thumb, or with the support of 4 fingers and thumb. That means from general to specific. The movement or development has happened from general to specific. Next important principle is that development is continuous. It will continue to happen throughout the life of an individual. Development follows a pattern. It has a fixed pattern. It is called cephalocaudal and proximodistal. That means either the development will happen from the center to the periphery, or it will be spread out evenly throughout the whole body. So there is a fixed pattern in which the development will happen, and it proceeds stage by stage. We cannot say, or we cannot expect, we should not expect rather, that a child should start running, jumping, and then we feel no, now the child should crawl also. So after running and jumping, now we start teaching the child crawling. It will not happen. First the child will learn to sit, then crawl, and then only running and jumping. Development is the change is product of maturity and learning. We have discussed earlier that there has to be maturation and learning. Only when the child is ready and mature, bodily mature, and if learning environment is provided, then the development will happen. Early development is more important than later development. We all know that maximum development takes place in the age group of 0 to 5 years. And if the child has been given adequate environment, adequate learning opportunity, then development maximum can be achieved from 0 to 5 years. Next phase when the development again happens at a very rapid rate is during adolescence. And principle which is very important is that development is predictable. We are able to predict, or we are able to tell that what next development will happen. As if you remember, in one of the earlier slides we had discussed that there are individual differences. If there is difference in environment, in heredity, but these differences happen due to difference in interest, study habit, motor skills, value and attitude. These individual differences are happening, and they are also getting affected because of the difference in food and nutrition. The kind of food intake the child is getting, the early stimulation that is being given to the child, it may be different for 2 different children in the same family, and also because of the child rearing practices. These factors are very important that influence the development. When we were talking of development, there are various types of developments, that is physical development, motor development, cognitive development, language development, social and emotional development. This is a picture of the physical development that has taken place in the child. You can see the child is standing on the table. That means the child must have adequate maturity of his muscles so that he is able to climb onto the table, then stand on the table and then balance out the blocks. It requires a lot of ability and maturation of the muscles. Physical development is the observable change in the life of the child. It includes gross motor skills, and it depends largely on the child health and nutritional status. If the child will not have good health and nutritional status, then physical development will be affected. Next is cognitive development. When we say cognitive, it means the ability of the child to think, to reason, to be able to judge, analyze and assess the various situations. You can see these children are playing with the blocks. They are trying to use their mental faculties as to how they can make the best out of these blocks. Cognitive development focuses on how children learn and process information. It involves thinking, problem solving and memory development. The child learns about environment using his or her senses. The 5 senses that the child uses are sight, touch, hearing, smell and taste. All these senses, when they function together, it allows the child to use his or her brain and find solution to his own problems and situation. Language development. This is a very important aspect because we are all social animals. We all need to talk, we need to hear, we want to know what others are talking about us, what is happening around me. So, language development is a very important feature. When we say language development, it is an important means of communication. It is very important for us to communicate. We have to communicate whether by use of language or gesture or symbol or whatever, because if we are not able to communicate, we feel uncomfortable and we want to share, we want to know. So, when we say language development, it means usage of words, symbols, gestures, sounds to express thoughts, desires and feelings. All of us, whether we are small children or adults or old people, we have some thoughts, desires and feelings which we want to share. Next important development is motor development. If our motor skills, our muscles are not fully developed, then we will not be able to do this kind of a high coordination activity, that is sitting on a bicycle, putting the feet on the pedals, holding the handle, pressing the pedal to move forward. At the same time, you can see the child has to look in front also, so that he goes or she goes in the right direction and does not bang into anybody. So, motor, the whole body muscles have to function properly and in coordination. So, motor development is a very important feature. It is the development of skill and various body parts in a controlled manner. Then only you will be able to walk, you will be able to cycle, you will be able to swim or hop or skip or any such activity. Social and emotional development. As I had said earlier also, we are all social animals. We need to interact, we need to be with people, we want to be surrounded, we want to share, we want to express, and for that we also have various emotions. You know, the various emotions like happy, sad, unhappy. So, these are various emotions which all of us are going through, even as children, as adolescents, as adults. So, we need to have proper social and emotional development. This involves development of social skills like sharing, cooperating, patience and interacting with the peer. As we are existing in a society with people, we need to understand that we have to follow these skills. We must have the skills of sharing, cooperating and having patience in interacting with the peer. It is the ability to control and manage one's emotion, and emotions are stimulated or move state of mind. Whenever we are happy, we feel very happy and we feel that our environment should also be very happy. When we are sad, then we get affected by that and we affect our surroundings also with that. So, our social and emotional development always goes together. That is, we should be expressing our emotions in socially acceptable manner. Every society has its own norms and traits which they approve. So, there is nothing right or wrong. There are norms of a particular society or a community which are acceptable or not acceptable. So, according to which community we belong to or which society we belong to, we have to adopt or we have to develop our social and emotional skills. During infancy, there are certain parameters of physical development which we have to follow. Height is an important parameter of development. At birth, the height is 17 to 21 inches. At 1 year, it becomes 28 to 30 inches. At 2 years, it becomes 32 to 34 inches. It is very important that we follow these parameters so that we know that our baby is growing and attaining height at the right pace. Similarly, the weight of the child. At birth, the weight of the child is 2.5 to 3.1 kg. It is very important for us to know these parameters. Why? Because if we find that the child is not gaining his weight at the end of 1 year, similarly the body circumference, the head size. You can see in the picture that whenever you take the baby for checkup, the doctor is going to measure the circumference of the head, the size of the hands and leg. They must be such that they are in proportion and they follow the basic standard format. Another important parameter of development is the development of teeth. In the beginning, a child has 20 temporary teeth, which are also called milk teeth, and they get replaced by permanent set. And finally, an adult has 32 permanent teeth. The development of teeth takes place in a particular order. That is, first the central incisors come at the age of 6 to 12 months, lateral incisors from 9 to 16 months, canines from 16 to 23 months, first molar from 13 to 19 months, second molar 22 to 33 months. If you remember, there was one of the principles that the development will always happen in a step by step manner. No one or other step is going to get overlapped. First, this is the order in which the teeth will erupt, that is from central incisors to lateral incisors to canines to first molar and to second molars. This is the detailed picture of the teeth that we see. In the upper jaw, you will find there is again central incisor and lateral incisor, canine and first molar, and these are the second molar, and similar you have in the lower jaw. Early childhood also undergoes a lot of motor development. There is good muscular coordination. By the time the child comes into early childhood, the coordination between muscles becomes very good. The gross and fine motor skills are more advanced. You can see this is a gross motor activity where the whole body muscles are being used. The child is using hands, legs, thighs, muscles in order to do this activity of skipping. Here you find this is a fine motor activity where a child has to tie the shoelaces. It is a very, very highly skilled job for this child because fine muscles of the finger have to function, and at the same time he has to analyze and assess how and what to do so that the lace is tied properly. So, when we say motor development in early childhood, it involves a lot of coordination between the muscles for gross and fine activities. So, today I will just put the whole chapter together for you. What we have learned what is growth, we have learned what is development, we have also understood why growth and development are used interchangeably and where they are overlapped. Then we learned about the differences between growth and development. We learned about the principles of growth and development, factors that affect growth and development, and the various types of development, that is physical, mental, social, emotional and cognitive development. I hope you had a nourishing lesson today and you have understood the concept, and thank you.
घर बैठे पाएं राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विद्यालय शिक्षा संस्थान यानी NIOS में एडमिशन, वो भी एकदम आसान तरीके से, जिससे शिक्षार्थियों को होगी समय और धन दोनों की बचत। NIOS से शिक्षा कभी भी कहीं भी। शिक्षार्थियों, क्या आप जानते हैं NIOS में एडमिशन लेने का सरल और सुगम तरीका, जिससे शिक्षार्थियों को ऑनलाइन प्रवेश लेने में सहूलियत मिलती है। NIOS में प्रवेश की प्रक्रिया पूर्णतया ऑनलाइन है। शिक्षार्थी घर बैठे इंटरनेट द्वारा प्रवेश के लिए सबसे पहले NIOS की वेबसाइट www.nios.ac.in पर लॉगिन करें। अपना ईमेल आईडी और पासवर्ड डालकर अपना पंजीकरण करें। पंजीकरण के बाद लॉगिन करने पर ऑनलाइन प्रवेश हेतु आवेदन पत्र खुलेगा। आवेदन पत्र को निर्देशानुसार भरें और प्रिंट आउट लें। इस प्रिंट आउट पर अपनी फोटो संलग्न करें। ऑनलाइन प्रवेश के लिए शुल्क हेतु भुगतान के तरीके हैं: क्रेडिट कार्ड के द्वारा, डेबिट कार्ड के द्वारा, राष्ट्रीयकृत बैंक के ड्राफ्ट के माध्यम से, जो कि सचिव NIOS नई दिल्ली या नोएडा के पक्ष में देय हो। भरे हुए आवेदन पत्र के साथ साथ डिमांड ड्राफ्ट और संलग्न किए जाने वाले दस्तावेज हैं: जन्म रजिस्ट्रार के जिला कार्यालय से जारी जन्म प्रमाण पत्र की सत्यापित प्रति, जिसमें जन्म तिथि अंकित हो, पिछले विद्यालय से प्राप्त विद्यालय छोड़ने का प्रमाण पत्र, जिसमें आवेदक की जन्म तिथि लिखी हो। प्रवेश फॉर्म का प्रिंट आउट NIOS के संबद्ध क्षेत्रीय केंद्रों पर 10 दिनों में पहुंच जाना चाहिए, अन्यथा उचित दस्तावेज न लगे होने पर आवेदन फॉर्म रद्द किया जा सकता है। प्रवेश प्रक्रिया की पुष्टि होने के बाद शिक्षार्थियों को परिचय पत्र व अध्ययन सामग्री डाक द्वारा तुरंत पहुंचाई जाती है। ऑनलाइन प्रवेश एक बहुत ही सुगम और सुविधाजनक प्रवेश प्रणाली है। ऑनलाइन ऑन टाइम फॉर सेफ एंड सिक्योर एडमिशन।
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने, राहों को आलोकित करने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने।
धन साधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो, धन साधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो।
कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े, वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो। मित्रों हम उठे और जागे,
मंजिल आने की ध्वनि सुने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने। कोई मन चाहा केंद्र चुने,
हिंदुस्तान के हर कोने में नौजवानों के पास प्रतिभा है, उन्हें अवसर चाहिए।
NIOS देता रहा है युवाओं को अवसर आगे बढ़ने का। NIOS से पढ़ने वाले इन युवाओं ने किया है संस्थान को गौरवान्वित। दिव्यांगों ने बन के दिखाया है सबल और आत्मनिर्भर। NIOS के साथ आप भी जुड़िए NIOS के संग।